Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases through the lens of a trained investigator and former prosecutor turned judge.
If you are sensitive to expletives, anatomical descriptions, and accurate descriptions of crime scenes, this podcast may not be suitable for you.
Have you or someone you love been a victim of a crime that's still unsolved? Crime Curious has teamed up with one of the top private investigation services in the Indiana and surrounding area. If you have listened to us long enough, you know that we do not seek out services or products that are meaningless to us or hold no real value. So you can trust us when we say that Corbett Investigations comes with decades of experience you won't find anyplace else. Corbett Investigations is run by a former homicide commander of one of the country's most successful homicide units, has put over 400 people in prison for homicide, handled over 1,100 death investigations, and solved 33 cold case murders. To be real with you, Mr. Corbett had a really difficult time telling us what we should highlight in this segment because he does not like to sound like he's bragging. Solving crimes has been his life's passion, and he has never done it for the accolades or recognition. He has a whole team behind his services that help him be so successful, as they specialize in things like bloodstain analysis, ballistics, crime scene reconstruction, and forensic pathology, just to name a few. When you contact Corbett Investigations, you talk directly with Tim Corbett. He is hands-on with every case and can travel anywhere that's needed to get the job done. Corbett Investigations prides itself on honesty, truth, feet to the ground, real investigation work, and the strength to stand up to whatever is in the way of solving the crime. Corbett Investigations specializes in complex homicide cases, sex offenses, and criminal investigations that are old and new. Tim and his team have a reputation for finding witnesses and information that others could not. Although we hope none of our listeners ever need private investigation services, if you do, we recommend contacting Corbett Investigations and mention this segment on Crime Curious for a free consultation. Contact Tim Corbett today at 574-229-8115. You can also check them out on Facebook at Corbett Investigative Services, Inc. Thanks for listening, and now on to the show. Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell.
I'm Megan.
We're shaking all of our good luck gree-gree. Got bones. You've got crystals. And Jazz.
All right.
Off to a good start, my friends.
We are. I'm the dormouse.
I know. I like to hold her while we talk.
You know, it's a crystal thing, and we're both pretty spiritual, so there's something for that. So I have a story for you today.
Oh my gosh! But let's squeak the ducks before we tell the story.
We got to cleanse the energy. Some of you might not like this, and just so you know, we are not for you.
Right.
So there's that. This is a pretty popular case.
Okay.
But it's really only popular. So there's a group of people, and those people tend to be younger, who really love the TikTok.
Yeah.
And a lot of crimey stuff on TikTok, and we are should be doing these shorts, but they also don't cover a lot. They give you a little bit of a taste for more.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'm going to give credit to our friend Dick Pic Liz.
I love it when we can say Dick Pic Liz.
I do too. And so does she.
Yes.
And so when she's making me beautiful, we have many conversations, and she's like, hey, you've got to hear this. So we listened to the quick TikTok, and then I went and listened to the Gals podcast. It was lovely. It was great. She covered what needed to be covered, but it wasn't a deep dive. And we like to dive deep into these things. This is a Wisconsin case.
Okay.
Now infamous, the defendant, her name is Taylor Shabiznes.
Stop your face.
I'm
Taylor Shabiznes, that is the best.
And dear, if we don't name this case Mind Shabiznes, then we have failed as a podcast.
Done. Consider it done.
This is
Mind
the
Shabiznes.
tragic death of Shad Thyrion, and this is brutal.
Okay.
So this is covered. I'm going to give you my resources now. Court TV, which I do not always love, freaking amazing. The best coverage.
Really?
Videos, interviews, the entire court case from front to back. I spent a ton of time just watching that. And then some reading. I read through The Independent, multiple Green Bay newspapers, because this is in the Green Bay area.
Sure.
My pack is playing right now. I'm missing it to do this.
I know.
Go Packers.
Appreciate you.
I love my Wisco cases. And I also have the actual criminal complaint from Brown County. So
Wow,
it's super
okay.
fun because we're going to not the murder's not fun, you guys,
Of
but
course.
we're going to dive into the actual charging document.
Okay.
And then the probable cause that was there and that existed and what they were able to prove.
I am so ready for this deep dive, putting on my scuba gear as we talk.
I love it. And you're actually going to get to hear real pages turn here because I typed and printed it off.
She did. She's not even using
I
the
didn't
computer.
use the computer this time. All right. Taylor Shabusiness was born in Chicago on November 23rd of 1997.
Okay.
And was raised by her parents until the family moved to Wisconsin when she was in 4th grade. She attended public school in Wisconsin until her senior year, at which point she was expelled for fighting with another student. She then moved to Texas, where she completed school while living with her paternal grandparents. Shabusiness told her lawyers that her mother, Marla, died in 2009 from cirrhosis and alcoholism. Her father is still alive. I'll tell you some more about him later.
Okay.
And she has family in the Green Bay area. A criminal complaint that was filed in a 2020 case involving Shabusiness offers a glimpse of bizarre behavior and potential drug use. So this isn't even the case in question. So Shabusiness was charged with, and I love saying it.
I love hearing it.
We'll get to that too.
Okay.
This isn't a real name.
Oh, okay. I'm so excited for this.
She was charged with battery on a law enforcement officer and resisting arrest.
Not good.
After allegedly behaving oddly after she was found walking in the middle of the street.
All right.
Police had been called to the area for a woman seemingly under the influence of narcotics who was knocking on doors. We've all been not under the influence of narcotics, but we've seen it.
Sure have.
When officers arrived and asked her what was going on, she stated that she was not sure and she was on a different planet right now.
Oh,
Shabusiness,
at least she's being honest.
She was definitely on a different planet at that point. She allegedly told officers that she had, quote unquote, just shot up and then showed them the track marks on her arms.
Yeah.
During that incident.
She's very honest.
I feel like a lot of my addicts are that I have regularly. They do tend to be.
It's pretty hard to hide when you're clearly on Mars.
Yes.
And everyone else is on Earth.
Right. I am on a different planet, legit. During that incident, this is when she kicked at officers who tried to prevent her from walking into oncoming traffic.
Oh, gosh.
So it happens often. I want to talk to you about Chad Thyrion.
Chad Thyrion.
Shad.
Oh, Shad.
I pronounced it wrong. It was Shad Thyrion.
Shad Thyrion. All right.
So Shad's from Green Bay, and I think he's 24. He was 24 at the time that this happened. He was born September 7th, 1997 in Green Bay, Wisconsin to Tara Pakinich and Michael Thyrion. Shad attended Howard Swamico schools as a child and later worked for his grandfather and father at their family business.
Okay.
Not show business, just the regular business.
Just the regular business.
Shad enjoyed camping and games and spending time with his family. He was a very kind and compassionate person who often thought of others before himself. He was a very talented artist, and he also enjoyed wood carving.
Creative soul.
He's adorable too. Like there's just something very friendly about his face when you bring up his obit, and I'll show it to you after we get done, or you can look it up now. He's just adorable. So he had a sister, Ava, a sister, Silvia. This is a weird name, but it's pretty. Silvia Sunray.
That is gorgeous.
A brother, Bo. And then he also had grandparents that survived both sets, Becky and Steve Fisher, David Pakinich, and grandmother Elaine Willicott, and lots of aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews and cousins and friends. He is just really, he's a local Green Bay boy with a local Green Bay family.
Okay.
So I'm going to direct your attention now to February 21st of 2022.
All right. Oh, gosh, this was not long ago at all.
No, this is a very recent case. At around 9:30 p.m., Thyrion was picked up from the home of his mother, Tara Pakinich, by Taylor Shabusiness, his friend from school, and with whom he sometimes had a sexual relationship.
Sure. Okay, so they're friends. Shabusiness Is
friends
into
with
his
benefits.
business. Yep.
They are into each other's business at times.
Okay.
So the couple,
but not dating, just,
no, and
friends with
that's
benefits.
okay, and that's because, as we're gonna find out some things later, Taylor's married.
Oh, well, that's not a
but
good
he's
look.
not around. But he's not around.
Okay, sure,
Because he's taking care of his business.
All right.
Okay.
And she's got some business of her own.
Correct.
Okay.
So they're friends. They do the dirty sometimes.
Sure.
They're joined by a friend. I think his name may come up later.
Like a mutual friend.
Yes.
I see.
They go to an apartment on Eastman Avenue and they smoke weed.
Sure.
Shabusiness states in her interrogation that she and Thyrion had also smoked methamphetamine and injected trazodone, which is an antidepressant, at the apartment after the friend left.
Well, that's very contradictory. All of those or different types of things.
Yes.
Ooh.
So they're smoking weed, apparently all of them. At some point, the friend leaves or they leave, and then they continue, she and Shad, to smoke methamphetamine and inject trazodone.
What kind of high would that even give you? No wonder why she was on different planets. Yeah. Oh.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
For both of them.
Okay. Oh,
so the
God.
couple then returns to Tyrion's mom's house. So this is Miss Pakinich. He's clearly living with mom. He lives in the basement. He has himself a little apartment set up down there. And his mom lives there with her boyfriend, Steve Hendricks. They're both away at the time. I mean, this is an adult child that's living in her basement. They're not going to keep track of him.
Heck no.
So they're gone, and they were going to find themselves with the house to themselves. Okay. This is the last time he would be seen.
After they have already smoked
They've
two different
done the
types of drugs and injected one.
A mutual friend sees them both together. They arrive back to his home, but his mom and her boyfriend are not there, and that's the last time anybody sees him.
Okay.
So here's your trigger alert. So 2 days later, on February 23rd, this is still 2022, Tyrion's mother was woken up around 2:30 a.m. by a storm door slamming, and she heard a vehicle. She gets up, sees a light in the basement, and goes down there. Now, what she thinks happened is that somebody left from the basement. She hears the storm door slam from I believe potentially one from the basement, and then the car leave. And when she goes down here, and here's the trigger alert, she finds her son's head in a bucket in her basement.
Oh my God, Megan. No, this poor woman.
And
I mean, poor Shad as well, but
his
oh
mom.
My God.
It doesn't matter. Does it give you goosebumps up your spine?
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter.
Instantly want to bawl.
How old your baby is.
No.
It gets worse. This is a huge trigger alert.
Oh my God.
So it had been covered with a towel, the head in the bucket. Now later, police would discover that Tyrion's removed penis was also in the bucket.
What the fuck?
Hendricks, that's the boyfriend. He then calls the police. They do a search of the basement, and they find human organs stuffed in plastic bags and cardboard boxes.
What?
His torso is discovered in a tote with his dismembered foot placed inside it.
Oh my God.
And later, additional body parts will be found in a minivan.
Oh, this poor family.
So the police go looking for Taylor's business to ask her some questions.
Yeah, I'd say they want to know what kind of business she been up to.
Well, they find her later that day at an apartment complex on Eastman Avenue, which is where a gold Town and Country minivan used to transport various body parts of Thyrion are found by police. Her clothes, when they see her, are covered in blood. Her left thumb has a cut. She has scratches on her arms, which she claims at the time are self-inflicted. Now, she was arrested immediately and charged with murder, mutilation of a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault on March 1. Shabusiness, earlier that year, on January 3, was convicted and sentenced for 3 months for fleeing and eluding and obstructing police. Okay. So we had a 2020 incident. This is a 2022 incident. We're going to get into some of this history.
Okay. Can I ask you, is the sexual because of the penis? Or is there more?
I'm going to be very, very descriptive about exactly why she's charged. We're going to dive we're deep diving into
Okay.
this.
All
I'm
right.
just
I'm
giving you the
preparing.
overview.
Let me protect my aura while we're doing this.
So she had this other issue in January, okay? So it's unclear at this point. I don't think that anybody's ever been able to real specifically answer if she was on release at the time of the murder. She may have still been on probation.
Yeah.
Well, she was on probation. She had removed the GPS tracker from her ankle.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So she is out on parole, or I guess we'd call it probation, and I have people on tethers all the time.
Yep.
When this event happens, she's technically on probation still, but she has done a no-no and cut the GPS tracker off.
Right.
Detective Graff testifies later at a trial that Shabusiness had initially claimed that this whole thing happened because she blacked out while she was choking Thyrion in a sexual event that was mutual.
Okay.
And then allegedly later admits thinking after she kind of regains consciousness after she's blackout that she was thought, well, I'm already this far. So she just kept on in terms of referring to choking the victim. And I'm going to tell you now that choking is their terminology and not mine.
Okay.
Because I use the term strangulation.
Right.
Even in a sexual situation, that is asphyxiation or strangulation. It is not choking.
Right.
You choke on food.
Yes, exactly. I knew you were going to give that distinction. Yep.
He says, I went downstairs, the law enforcement officer, upon what they found. At the bottom of the stairs to the right, there was a green bucket with a shower towel on top of it. Just to verify we had an actual head in the bucket, I lifted the towel off, and there was, in fact, a human head severed in the bucket. This is Green Bay Police Officer Alex Wasnick, who testified later as to exactly what he saw. Now, the rest of Tyrion's body parts were found inside plastic bags and cardboard boxes in the basement, and also in that gold minivan that was on the property while Taylor was found.
And I already have problems with her explanation here of, well, I was already this far. You didn't need to take it so far that you mutilated his body and then left it for his mother to find.
Well, we're going to get into this. So I'm going to read to you now. And I don't always love to just read things at you, but don't worry, I'm going to make it super fun. Like story time, but for justice.
As fun as a court complaint can be here.
This young man,
justice.
it does make you sick. He deserves to have his story told, and maybe not just in a way that sensationalized the graphic nature of it, because that's what's drawn all this attention.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And I am going to get into the graphics, but there's so much more behind all of this.
Yeah.
So in the state of Wisconsin versus Taylor Denise Shabusiness, it lists her former address, which I just read the whole damn thing to you because who cares about her privacy. Date of birth, November 23rd, 97. Apparently she has hazel eyes and brown hair, is 5'2" and weighs 120 pounds. Also known, alias, as Taylor Denise Coronado.
Coronado. Okay.
This is the criminal complaint then out of the state of Wisconsin Circuit Court, Brown County. The complainant, Caleb Saunders, who was the assistant district attorney and who you'll hear me mention later, swears, as often happens in a criminal complaint, and deposes to the following. Count 1 is charged as first-degree intentional homicide. The above-named defendant, on or about Wednesday, February 23rd, in the city of Green Bay, Brown County, Wisconsin, did cause the death of the victim with intent to kill that person, a Class A felony, and on conviction shall be sentenced to imprisonment for life. And further, they charged her as a repeater, which we call a habitual offender here, because the defendant is a repeater having been convicted of battery or threat to a judge, prosecutor, or law enforcement in Brown County. This is the R&O with the cops, which convictions remain of record and unreversed. The maximum term of imprisonment for the underlying crime may be increased 6 years if the prior conviction was for a felony. So life plus 6 years is what she's facing on count 1.
Okay.
Count 2 is mutilating a corpse, also as a repeater. And that's going to be in every felony they charge you as either a hab or a repeater in the state of Wisconsin, apparently. That the above-named defendant, on or about Wednesday, February 23rd, in the city of Green Bay, Brown County, Wisconsin, did dismember a corpse with the intent to conceal a crime. This is a Class F felony, and upon conviction may be fined for not more than $25,000 or imprisoned not more than 12 years and 6 months or both. and further invoking the provisions of the Wisconsin statute of being a repeater, again, that being the battery or threat to a judge, prosecutor, law enforcement officer in Brown County, which convictions remain on the record and unreversed. That makes the maximum term of imprisonment for the underlying crime to be increased. Count 3 is third-degree sexual assault. The above-named defendant on or about Wednesday, February 23rd, did have sexual intercourse with the victim without that person's consent. Now, this is a Class G felony, and upon conviction may be fined not more than $25,000 or imprisoned not more than 10 years. Again, also adds a repeater to it, which increases that particular crime by 4 years. The complainant, being an assistant district attorney with the Brown County District Attorney's Office, knows of the above offenses on the following information and belief. And there we're going to talk about the probable cause. So I'm literally going to give you everything that was found.
Okay.
The complainant, being duly sworn on oath, swears that he has had the opportunity to review the police reports from officers of the Green Bay Police Department and other documents supporting this complaint referenced herein, which are the types and reports and documents kept in the ordinary course of business, which complainant believes to be truthful and reliable because they have been proven to be truthful and reliable on numerous occasions in the past. Your complainant bases this complaint upon the statements of TP, who is presumed to be reliable as a citizen witness in this instance. Your complainant also bases this complaint on the statements of Taylor Shabusiness, which were against her penal interest. The complaint further asserts that based on this review of all of the referenced reports and supporting documents, the incidents alleged occurred in Brown County, Wisconsin. We have all the boilerplate. You have any questions so far?
Nope.
Your complainant's review of the report first, they took the information of Officer Alex Wasknick of the Green Bay PD.
Poor Alex.
Alex indicates on February 23rd at about 3:25 a.m., he was dispatched to a residence located in the city of Green Bay, Brown County, for the report of a severed head found in a bucket in a basement. Can you imagine?
No. He took the night shift hoping that it's quieter.
Like a drunk driver?
Yes.
Maybe a break-in?
Just, some crashes.
Not a mom
right?
calling you
No.
hysterical that there's a head in a bucket?
No.
In the basement? Upon arrival, Officer Wasnick meets with TP. I think we know now then this is his mom, but they did use TP in the complaint originally. Now, the reason I'm letting you know that and not necessarily protecting that privacy is this all comes out later because there is a trial in this case.
Yeah.
She allows officers into the residence. Officer Wanick, it says Wanish. It's pronounced, maybe I'm pronouncing it Wasnick and it should be Wanish. I apologize.
I'm grateful I'm not the only one who does it.
Right. Officer Wanish reports he goes down to the basement, and once he reaches the bottom of the stairs, he observes the plastic bucket in question on the floor. He observes a shower/beach towel over it, lifts the towel, and observes the human head. He looks around the room and observes what appears to be dried blood on a nearby mattress. Officer Garth Russell of the Green Bay PD also effects a report. This indicates on February 23rd, he was asked to assist by going to a residence on Eastman Ave to gather information on a person identified as Taylor D. Shabusiness, who was last seen with the victim and who may be living at the Eastman Avenue address. When he gets there, Officer Russell learns that there was a van associated with Shabusiness. He reviewed a prior photograph of her. They inspect the van, and he sees Shabusiness emerge from the apartment building upon seeing officers. She does stop, and she appears to be cooperative. Officer Russell could see that Shabusiness has on what appears to be, has what appears to be dried blood on the front of her black hooded sweatshirt. Oh. There's video of this. I watched it. You can't see it very well because it's a black hoodie that she's wearing.
Yeah.
But they do try to zoom in. And you can see that there's something. You can kind of see it a little bit in the videos if you're looking close. Mostly, she's real calm, Charnell. That's what's interesting about all of this. So he asks her if she knew why officers are there. And she says something that sounds like, because of my warrant for my arrest. Remember, she is on bond. Right. Or I'm sorry, why do I keep saying that? Why she's on probation and she slipped her tether or cut it. So the next thing that's reviewed is the report of Detective Gina Luberta of the Green Bay PD, who indicates that she received additional information that TP told patrol officers that Shabiznes's van, which had been parked outside her address for a day or so, was gone. So it's a little weird, right? Her van has clearly been parked there for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Son's been down in the basement for a couple of days. I want you to keep this in mind. This is not all the same night.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So they find this same van, of course, that had been previously parked at the victim's home, and now it's outside of her address. So Detective Luberta has the opportunity then to examine the van. It is she's taken into custody. The van is taken into custody. And he reports that in the rear passenger seat behind the driver's seat, there was a crock pot box.
Oh.
Trigger alert.
Okay.
Medical examiner Vincent Tranchita went to the box, which was on top of a laundry basket of clothes, and located additional body parts, including legs.
Oh, my God. In a crock pot box?
Yeah. So you know how a crock pot clearly isn't going to be room, but you know how, come on, you don't save the boxes sometimes to your big items like kitchen items to crock pot?
So I guess I'm picturing more like a roaster, like a big roasting pan box.
It could have been.
Those are bigger.
Or a large one, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was picturing too, Charnell, especially when you're talking about finding like legs.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Phil Scanton is a detective of the Green Bay PD. He summarized evidence that he found. This is during a validly executed search warrant at the residence where the victim was located. Now, they had permission to be in there. Let's just make this clear. His mom had certainly given permission and actually called, but you always get a search warrant when you're dealing with something like this. Detective Scanlon reports that during the search, a human head, which was severed from the neck, was located in a bucket in the basement. The head was identified visually in comparison with a prior photograph of the victim, of Shad, and it was confirmed to be him. According to Dr. Tranchita, there was visual evidence of strangulation observed, even on the severed head at the neck area. Also located in the same bucket was a male organ, along with body fluid and 2 knives. Other body parts were found in the basement in other bags, including plastic shopping bags, along with 3 more knives, including a bread knife, consistent with kitchen knives. You know, the really long serrated ones?
Yes.
Located in a storage tote, an upper torso was located. The upper torso had numerous rigid cuts at the site where the head was removed, consistent with the separated head. Also located in the tote was a carving knife consistent with a kitchen knife and several internal organs.
And he liked to carve wood and stuff. Did she do this at his own home?
Oh, honey, yeah.
Oh, my God. While his parents are just upstairs letting him mind, he's an adult. So, he's got his own exit and entrance, so they're not,
Yes, Charnell. Absolutely.
Jesus, with his own mother's kitchen utensils?
Yes. You are putting this all together. How fucking awful this is.
Oh, hell isn't even good enough for this woman. Oh.
Also located in the search was what appeared to be a significant blood staining on an unsheeted top bed mattress, along with what appeared to be a site previously cleaned up of blood on a concrete surface next to and under a significant portion of the bed. So that's worded in a weird way. The bed's on concrete. Yeah. There's a stain previously on the floor that someone looks to have attempted to clean up, but there's significant staining on the mattress, which does not have a sheet.
Right. Yes.
Evidence of drug use was observed in the open, so that means in plain view. They did have a search warrant, so it doesn't matter. But you guys, just so you know, if you have a search warrant to find a body, blood, fluids, a human, and then you find evidence of another crime, you are supposed to get an additional search warrant if it didn't include this originally. Okay. And I believe, in my opinion, everything seems to be done very by the book, by the letter of the law. Mm-hmm. What they observe is on top of the entertainment center, a glass pipe and a gem bag. So, the kind that you get from the jeweler that they might put your ring in, containing a light colored powder material. Also observed was evidence of blood around a stand-up shower located in the unfinished portion of the basement. and what appeared to be numerous blood drops were visible on the concrete floor in front of the shower that appeared to have been attempted to have been wiped or washed away. Detective Scanlon reports that during the search, he stayed in contact with Detective Graff and Detective Kempf, who at the time were questioning Taylor Schabusiness.
Sure.
This is all done in real time very quickly.
Right.
Detective Scanlon reports that based on her statements and their officer observations at the scene, what they believe to be the scene of the crime, Detective Scanlon found the information that Business was saying to be consistent with officers' findings during the search. Mm-hmm. Next, the complainant, again, the prosecutor, reviews the reports of Detective Graff, which indicates he met with the victim's mother, TP, who states that, now here's your time frame, around 9:30 p.m. on Monday, February 21, Taylor Schabusiness came and picked up the victim. Mm-hmm. She states that was the last time she saw her son alive. TP states that her boyfriend told her that sometime Monday night into Tuesday, February 22nd, the victim and Schabusiness returned to the home and went into the basement. TP believed that Schabusiness and the victim were in the basement during the day on Tuesday. She did not go. She reports she did not go into the basement but she did recall hearing Schabusiness talking at one point. So she's assuming they're having a fucking conversation.
Right,
okay?
right. There's just
not that she's just down there talking to a dead body.
No, of course.
TP then states she and her boyfriend were out of the house during the day on Tuesday after that. She says there was a minivan parked on the road in front of the house during that time, and she wasn't 100% sure if it was Schabusiness's. And she's right, by the way, because that van that Schabusiness was using, it actually belonged to her roommate.
Oh, God.
She, TP, mom.
That's the last time her roommate ever lets anybody borrow something.
Oh, man. Right? I don't know that he actually necessarily, just so you know, and I think I'll get to it later, I don't think he actually necessarily gave her permission to use it, but it was just kind of a common, like, if it's at the house, we all live together, I'm just going to use it.
Okay.
Sometime between 2:30 a.m. and 3 a.m. that morning, which was February 23rd.
Right. Technically, we're into Wednesday morning now. Okay.
She was awoken by the storm door being slammed.
Okay.
She states she heard a vehicle and she assumed it was Schabusiness's. She gets out of bed and sees the light in the basement was still on. And she hasn't talked to her son in a couple days. Right. And Schabusiness finally leaves. So she's like, okay, whatever nefarious things they were up to down there.
Yeah.
Mom can go into the adult son's area now and talk to him, right?
Yes.
She goes into the basement and doesn't see anyone. So she starts to walk back up the stairs. And that's when she notices the bucket and discovers her son's head.
Oh, my gosh. Like, I don't know that I would have looked in the bucket. I don't know. I mean, I know it's out of place and stuff, but my kids put weird shit in the basement. And I mean, I just wonder if there was like blood or something that kind of drew her to it where she's like, what is going on?
Or just, it was, my understanding is that it was out of place. There being a bucket next to the bottom of the stairs, and then it had a beach towel or a towel of some kind thrown over. It was just, and maybe just intuition.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
It was out of place.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, I'm not trying to be graphic, but I can't imagine what it even like smelled like down there.
Right. Because, I mean, clearly this had been going on for over 24 hours and there was blood. And,
yeah.
Oh.
So other officers recall at this point in time then are interviewing Taylor. They have brought her in. So she's advised of her rights. It's Detective Graff that does that. He tells Schabusiness that a few hours ago, our officers were sent to a residence in Green Bay in which they found the head of a man. Mm-hmm. Her response is, well, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, you're right, Schabusiness. It is.
Detective Graff asks Schabusiness if she knew the victim. And she says she did. Detective Graff confirmed that Schabusiness, with her, that she lives on Eastman Ave and that the van that was located there was her roommate, ST, his van. Detective Graff confirms then with Schabusiness that she did in fact drive ST's van to Eastman Avenue earlier in the morning. He asks where the rest of the victim's body was. And Schabusiness says it's still in the basement. No denial, just it's still in the basement.
Well, that's fucked up. And oh, by the way, yeah, I know all about it. And it's still in the basement.
He asked her to tell him what happened. And her first comments to him are, that's a good question. because she'd blacked out during that time.
Of course. Okay.
Graf asked Shabisness if it was just her and the victim in the basement, and she says, yep, it was, and nobody else had come down there at all.
Ugh.
She stated that she and her
By the way, she's only 5'2" and 120 pounds.
Okay, so here you go. These are her statements. She and the victim were smoking, quote unquote, the bitch.
Okay.
That's meth, you guys.
Right.
Common terminology for it. So Detective Graf was able to clarify with her that she's referring to methamphetamine. She states, the victim had a chain that he had put around his neck. I'm going to trigger alert again for any type of triggers you may have with asphyxiation, sexual asphyxiation, either voluntary and non-voluntary, and also to sexual assault and dismemberment.
Yeah, good call.
There's a chain that he puts around his neck, which they were using for the purposes of sexual intercourse. The strangulation was part of the sex act, according to her, that she and Shad had used in the past. This was something that they did and that they liked to engage in.
Okay.
And no judgment on
Yeah,
that.
we don't stink kinks here.
No, but they have to be mutual and they have to be safe. And I don't.
Consensual.
Have you ever? I mean, it's like, was this a fucking snuff fantasy, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, I know.
I don't think he, and that's where we're going to go with this. He didn't consent to die.
No, exactly.
And once you reach a certain point of impairment in terms of the strangulation, you're not necessarily doing this for sexual purposes anymore, right? At some point in time, this is going to turn into an assault, a sexual assault, and a murder.
Right.
He asked her about, Detective Graf asked Shabisness about her using ST's minivan and asked if she and the victim had had contact with anyone when they first got back to the house. She then made the statement. You're going to hate it. You're going to hate her.
Okay.
Damn the head. I can't believe I left that head though.
Oh my God.
Damn it. Damn that head.
Like I would say, frick, I can't believe I left my purse on my desk.
You're coming out of your meth stupor and you're like, oh, fuck, I left the head.
Oh.
I can't believe I left the head.
Last time I didn't leave the head. Oh my God.
He asks her where the rest of the body was stated, and she says it's in the basement. Reports to the police that they're going to have fun trying to find all the organs because I dismembered the body. She stated all of the body parts should be in the basement. She stated there should be a foot or a leg in the minivan. Detective Graf asks her what she did with the head, and she says, I put it in a black bucket and I put a blanket over it. Okay.
Do you think the blanket was her thinking that she's showing some sort of remorse or respect?
Or is it likely that she put this human being's head in a bucket and it was staring up at her?
Well, yeah, that's
so she
possible.
covered it up.
Yeah.
I'm still on trigger alert
this
because
is so
I know.
Absolutely insane.
It's unbelievable.
It is that, and I mean, I know y'all that drugs can really, really mess a human up.
Charnell,
but
this is stuff that experienced killers who are serial killers do.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you now, when I go through all of her stuff, she's never killed anyone before. This is her first time.
Sure. She really went all for it. Went all in on her first time.
Well, Graf asks her, how did you dismember the body? She states that she used knives that she obtained from the kitchen of the residence, and that a bread knife ended up working best because of the serrated blade. She said the knives should be in a black bag along with the body parts in the basement, and that basically she was just using whatever bag she found in the basement to start putting body parts in. She made the comment at one point that she did get paranoid and lazy and that she thought it was the dope that was making her paranoid. Not that you just killed someone.
Right. Not the act. It's the dope.
So I'm going to explain now the very intimate details of what she described was happening. So if, again, a trigger alert. She and the victim were in the basement, and Shad brought 2 chains out, one for him and one for her. She described the chains at the time as being chain link and silver. She would later describe the chains as being like a dog choke collar.
Okay.
She stated that she, quote unquote, just went crazy, referring to strangling the victim. At one point during the interview, Shabizna stated that she could feel the victim's heart beating still as she was choking him. So she kept pulling and choking him harder, but the victim would not die, and he just kept, quote unquote, rebuilding into muscle. Well, I think his body was tightening up. He was fighting death.
Jesus Christ.
I'm telling you, this is terrible. This is the worst, most graphic thing I've ever brought you. I'm so sorry.
Rebuilding into muscle. That tells you where her mind was at while this is all happening. Yep.
Because she's enjoying this.
Yeah.
Detective Graff asked at what point she knew the victim was not alive anymore. Shabizna stated that the victim's face turned purple. Blood was coming out of his mouth, and she still didn't stop. Detective Graff asked what she did after the victim died, and she said that she played with his body.
Ugh.
This is very, very graphic. Sexual trigger alert.
Ugh.
Shabizna stated that she sucked the victim's penis and that she had a quote-unquote dildo that she put in the victim's mouth and then in his quote-unquote ass.
What kind of disgusting
Charnell.
Monster. She's not even a human.
He asked her if when she was choking the victim, if he tried to fight back at all. And she said he did. Shabizna stated that she and a friend had picked up the victim, Shad, in Este's minivan. Then they picked up drugs. Then they went to Eastman Avenue. And that she and her friend and Shad smoked marijuana. And then that she and Shad smoked some meth. And then Shabizna's friend left. And then she reports that she shot up herself and she shot up the victim with trazodone. We do not know if he consented to any of this. I was
just going to say that.
I don't know. I think that a lot of the speculation is that he did. This is something that they did together, the drugs, but I just don't know on the trazodone. I think methamphetamine makes sense, but I don't know about the trazodone.
Right.
She states that she and the victim then leave her apartment and drive to his mom's house in her roommate's minivan. They go to the basement. She says that the victim's mother's boyfriend let her and the victim into the house, that it was about 5 minutes after they arrived that the victim, Shad, then starts pulling the chains out. Like, they went there with the intention to have sex. Yeah. I mean, that was Shad's intention, you guys.
Yeah.
If this is true, Shad intended to go have sex with his friend who he sometimes does the dirty with, and he didn't intend to die.
Exactly. And I've had a lot of, not to be too graphic here, but I've had a lot of addicts that I've worked with who will tell you that sex while high is the best sex ever, and then sex when you're not high doesn't feel great anymore. So
thank you for pointing that out. Absolutely. And we hear that really specifically with methamphetamines, right?
Yes.
It's supposedly this greatest high ever. You spend the rest of your addiction chasing that original high, and then engaging in sexual activity is really like just the icing on the cake.
Yeah. Yes.
And theirs was violent, or at least a BDSM aggressive.
Right. Yeah.
She indicates again, because, they make you repeat things multiple times about what happened. So I'm not meaning just to to beat this in to anybody. Right. I'm telling you what is in the complaint and what the probable cause is. And I'm not repeating a paragraph. This is, again, a new paragraph. So now she says she begins to choke him and she describes him so we know his positioning. He is laying face down on the bed with her on top of him, kind of like on his back, pulling at the end of the chain. She can't see his face. She's choking him from behind.
Oh, see, I was not visualizing that correctly. Okay.
Shad starts coughing up blood, and she was just waiting for him to die while she was watching his face. Like, it's turned, right? She made the comment that, quote unquote, she was already this far, so she just kept on, referring to choking him.
She really just snapped right in the middle of a high and in everything.
Yep. She says in a low tone of voice, and I think it's significant, no one's going to take the time to state that somebody changes their tone of voice in a PC, in a probable cause, in a complaint. But they did, because she lowers her voice and says, yeah, I liked it.
Oh.
And Detective Graff believed her to be referring to when she was choking Shad.
Yes.
She stated
she liked murdering him.
She did. she was aroused by
Yes,
this.
exactly.
Because she explained
And
what
not
she
just
did.
because of the methamphetamine.
She explained what she did afterward to his body.
Yeah. Yeah.
She thought that it took 3 to 5 minutes for him to die. And then Detective Kemp clarifies with Shabusiness that when Shad begins to cough up blood, that she did keep on choking him because she wanted to see what happened. And she said yes. She made comments that she blacked out while choking the victim, but when she woke up, that he was already purple, so she kept on going. So there were those conflicting statements.
For sure. Plus, how do you know it's 3 to 5 minutes? When you're high, time moves differently anyway. And if you're blacked out, you're not keeping track of time.
Right. So she... Hold on a second. Where was I? There we go. She stated that she had enjoyed choking him and made comments to detectives asking if they knew what it was like to love something so much that you kill it.
What?
You want to unpack that for a minute?
Oh,
Let me read it to you again.
My God.
Shabusiness stated that she enjoyed choking him and made a comment to the detectives asking, do you know what it is like to love something so much that you kill it?
Nope. Certainly do not. Because everything that I've loved, I've cherished. And I mean, I have looked at a baby before and been like, oh, your teeth are so cute. I could just squeeze them.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Or the, you know, have you ever like a puppy? I've said this before, super not serial killer though, guys. Picked up a puppy and been like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. I just want to bite your face.
Yes. Yeah.
She did
but
this.
She actually took it.
She was
to
like,
that.
oh my God, I love my friend. I love this. I love him so much. I have to kill him.
I have to kill him. No, I don't think that a majority of us have ever experienced a quote unquote love like that. And by the way,
I don't think
it's not love, guys.
Okay.
That's not love.
If any of you are experiencing a love like this, this is not love. Please seek help immediately. And if someone loves you that much, also seek help immediately and a protection order and possibly move.
Yes, because you have real messed up ideas of what love is.
I am not going to say again her statement, but it has to do with the two very specific things that she did to his body afterward.
After he was
sexually.
Yes, after he was dead. Okay.
Detective Graff clarifies with Shabusiness that she was in the basement with the victim all during the day of Tuesday into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and then she dismembered the victim's body.
Okay, so she did not start dismembering right away.
No.
She played with his corpse for quite some time then.
Yes.
Or she passed out from being high and lost track of time.
I feel like, I don't know that she necessarily knew what she was going to do with his body after she had killed him and after she had played with him, is in her words, after she horribly sexually assaulted him and mutilated a corpse and whatever. I think then she starts thinking, what am I going to do with him?
Yeah.
She didn't want to get caught.
Well, yeah.
This isn't an accident. This isn't a methamphetamine fueled rage. Well, it might have been, but where you wake up after having blacked out and go, holy shit, what happened? Right.
Or an overdosing or anything like
and
that.
And we're going to get into this quite a bit more in terms of the trial and defenses. She stated the plan was for her to bring all of the body parts with her, but she got lazy and her words, and only ended up putting the leg and the foot in the van, and she forgot the head. That was in the bucket. She was going to take the head.
Oh my Lord.
Apparently everything else she was just going to leave in boxes and totes.
So I guess we're not putting ambitious and attention to detail on our resume anytime soon.
No, ma'am.
Wow. I'm so lazy that all I put was a leg and a foot and decided that that was enough.
She made comments again now that she did not mean to kill the victim, but as she was choking Shad, she liked it and she would just keep doing it. And she made the comment that she was not prepared, as killing Shad was random. She had not planned on killing him. It was literally in the moment.
She did not wake up that morning and say, I think that I'm going to kill my friend today. But in the moment where she had the opportunity, she did not stop herself. She enjoyed it and she kept going.
And this is, think of the argument right now with the amount of drugs that people put into their system that are, I'm not going to deny that that wouldn't have been a cause her ingesting those things to make her lose her shit and snap and murder him. But voluntary intoxication is not a defense.
No.
And this is what we need to continue to keep in our heads.
Yes.
She would never do that if she wasn't high on meth.
Okay.
But she was high on meth.
And she voluntarily entered into that state of consciousness.
And I don't know if Shad did or didn't, because I can almost guarantee you he intended to use meth with her. I think that was common, and it was common for their sexual practices. But she admits that she injected him with trazodone.
So we don't know if that's normal.
We don't, because the only other person that could tell us is Shad, and he's not here to tell us.
Right.
So she also indicates, before, killing him was random, at least in her description, her mind. She stated that she had Shad's body on the bed in the basement as she pulled him to the edge of the bed, and here's a trigger alert. She put the black bucket underneath his head as she was cutting it off. She also talked about how she was using a bucket and a tote to catch all of the blood that was pouring out of him.
I did wonder how she was containing.
Well, this is why we have a stain on the cement.
Okay.
Because I think it was from where his head was being severed into the bucket and all of the blood pouring out. She would use the shower in the basement to dump out the bucket. So she's taking the time to go back and forth and dump blood down this. She was asked if she thought it was the right thing to do. And her comment was that she did it anyway, referring to killing him. The last statement in this complaint, and this is the end of this, is just some boilerplate, but that his review of the records, which are presumed to be truthful and reliable, they're sworn to, by the way, y'all, in front of a judge, that there was a disposition in the case with a judgment of conviction prior for battery and threats to an officer, and that those convictions, having remained of record and unreversed, make the defendant a repeater, and that they know that these occasions, these events are true to the best of their knowledge and ability. And then those were sworn by the district attorney, whose name is David Lassie, and then it was also electronically signed by the complainant, who was Caleb Saunders, that being another assistant district attorney. So there's the criminal complaint and the probable cause. And I know that it's a terrible spot to leave someone, but I think I'm going to leave you with what had happened.
I think that that's a great place. And now part 2, we're going to pick up with the trial and the arguments and defenses.
Trial, incarceration, all kinds of defenses, and some weird background.
Okay.
This is not done. This case gets more bizarre.
What?
This case gets more bizarre.
I was not anticipating that.
No, I gave you the worst, most awful graphic nature of what happened in like a night within like 48 hours?
Yeah.
It just gets much worse.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. So come back to us next week to listen to part 2.
Yeah. Oh, and those of you that are Patreon, tune in right now. Yes. You get to hear them right in a row.
Yeah.
And if you don't have Patreon, if you want to join, then you can hear it right away as well.
There's a link in the show notes, or you can just go to patreon.com, Crime Curious. And but before, we never leave people hanging. And I have to say, this is the most graphic case that you have brought us.
It is. I don't usually do this.
Yep. But it's important. It's very important. And this young man did not deserve any of what has happened to him. No, and our intention here is to tell people's story and learn from it and keep their spirit alive. And so you're doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you. I want to put out there again too, for anybody who's a little bit put off with this, because it's not always our style to get so in detail about this, but I'm doing it because other mediums already have done this. Mm-hmm. And I want there to be context behind it.
Yeah.
It's not funny, and it is gross. You are going to hear in another episode that she's given a very specific nickname.
Oh, God.
And
okay.
It has to do with another famous serial killer from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And, it made me sick when I said it. I know that we sometimes, if anybody ever tunes on to our Facebook pages or whatever, we make funny or sarcastic jokes about serial killers and murders in general. But it's not because we idolize murderers in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
this young man who we don't do it very often anymore. I will find his picture. He deserves to be remembered. This is a sweet kid.
Yeah.
Clearly had some problems, clearly had some issues, didn't deserve any of this.
No.
At all.
No.
So I feel like we need to cleanse people's palates.
We do need a palate cleanser. A little brain bath. All right. I will brain. Nope.
You will brain me?
I will not brain you.
Jeez, oh man.
I'm going to give you a brain bath.
You're going to bathe me.
I'm going to bathe you.
I need it.
Yes. And actually, this comes from a listener. So thank you to Heather for sending this story in. And if you would like to, you all just go ahead and send us brain baths. Put in the subject line brain bath at crimecurious@yahoo.com, please. And that's also where you can send case suggestions as well.
Oh, we've got a bunch lately too.
Yes. She says, I know I've heard you share several stories regarding cats and dogs, but I'm going to take a hard guess that you have not heard one like this before. I was born and raised in Wisconsin in a small town.
Oh,
how fitting.
We're
it's
sticking
divine.
with Wisco.
Mm-hmm.
We have lately quite a bit.
It was unheard of to see a stray cat or owned one that went outside unless you lived on a farm. We had very strict leash laws. When my daughter was about 3 years old, we decided to get a cat for indoors, of course. At times, the cat would escape escape the back door, but I was always able to grab her and get her back inside the house fairly quickly. One morning, shortly after I had my second child, the cat got out, but this time I was unable to catch her, and I already ran through 2 backyards. In my head, I said, fuck it, I will find the cat later. How far could she possibly go? Well, this was on a Friday morning.
Uh-oh.
My then husband was always conveniently at work when times like this happened. Well, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night went by, and the cat did not come back home. We began the story that the cat went to live with her cat family to my daughter. Let's just say she did not take it very well. Monday, I got a phone call from the police department. Our local police department and fire department shared the same building, and the police department was in charge of multiple surrounding towns. They called to tell me they had my cat. First thought was, well, this is not going to be good. Like my cat was dead, not good. Then he proceeded to tell me that a neighbor called the cat in because she was sunbathing in her front yard on Friday without a leash. The horror. The police officer tells me he was able to walk right up to her and she started purring. He picked her up and she hung out in his squad car all day until he got back at the station.
She was in jail.
The cat, it gets better. The cat only had a collar on from the vet, but it did not have our phone number on it, so he was unable to contact us immediately. He continued with how she spent the entire time in the break room area and they created a little litter box, put out food, water, and how friendly she was the entire weekend until they could call the vet office on Monday when it opened. I thanked them for taking such good care of her that I would be right down there to pick her up. I knew the law, so I was a little nervous, and I brought my daughter with me in hopes that would help. Everybody once again told me how friendly and what a great cat she was. As I was walking away, the officers kindly reminded me to stop by the office prior to leaving for my citation. So I go up there and I find out that it is a mandatory court appearance for animal at large.
Oh, no.
Again, being a small town, our judge was an elected position by the town. So this person very well could have been my neighbor who worked at a local gas station as long as he had enough votes. Anyway.
Well, that's kind of how it works.
It is, yep. Anyway, I take this charge very seriously, and I call up our vet, and I get all the cat's records. I wanted to show that I've always taken good care of her with all her vaccinations, regular visits, and blah, blah, blah. I printed off a picture of her so that I could have that as well. She was on the smaller side and pretty, so I was going to try to use her looks if I could.
Oh, my God.
The day of
You're whoring your animal out.
She's cracking me up. The day of court was a tiny room in the back of the police station that had everything from possession of marijuana to speeding, and then the judge begins to read my case and struggles not to laugh out loud.
Yep.
I chose to represent my cat while some others had attorneys. He asked me if I had anything to say, and I told him how it happened, that I had an infant and a toddler at home, and I did not feel comfortable leaving either of them at home alone so I could chase the cat through the neighborhood. I show him the picture of my 4-pound cat, and also explained how the officers emphasized how friendly she was for 3 days while they hung out. The judge proceeds to use my cat's name as the defendant, Patches, and puts her on probation for 1 year.
What?
The stipulation, not to go outside without a leash and monthly check-ins. He proceeded to tell me that if my client is caught outside, she will have to pay the fine and face additional charges. Apparently, because my cat cannot write, shocker, the judge allowed me to sign the probation paperwork. Every month, I had to call the probation officer to verify that Patches was inside the house and not outside. So, of course, this went on for a year. During this time, she escaped a few more times. Once I had to physically climb a tree to grab her down. The thought went through my head were not pretty or nice. Shortly after the 1 year date, my cat received a letter in a mail addressed to Patches, congratulating her on successfully completing her probation. Not long after, my then husband and I moved out of state and decided to rehome Patches to a friend's farm where she could roam free, and I was told she is a great mouser.
A farm.
Uh-huh. I think she legitimately means a real one this time.
I hope so.
I never realized how crazy this was until I began telling people this story, and they looked at me like I was crazy. I still wish I'd kept all the paperwork. I had an entire file from beginning until the end of her probation.
That is so weird.
They went through the actual process of putting a cat on probation and assigning her a probation officer, and the probation officer having to check in with her.
Here, you are the one on probation for not supervising the animal. But let me tell you something else.
At large.
That isn't a thing with cats in Michigan.
It's not.
No. There's no such thing as a stray cat or a leash violation with cats. There's nothing. Dogs, yes.
Right.
Other animals at large, like we have people whose farm animals get out.
Oh, definitely.
Those can be charged, right? Because they can
Horses,
also cause
cows.
damage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if any of you have ever hit a horse, and it happens.
Yes, it does.
Bad juju. So, that was adorably wholesome.
It was.
And
don't you feel so clean now?
Yes, I do.
And
I also really kind of want to put a cat on probation.
I know. I was just gonna say. I mean, now do you kind of wish that's like the one thing that's lacking from your court?
I had a guy with a stray dog. This dog keeps getting out, and it is not a vicious dog. It's a dachshund. It's a wiener dog.
Oh.
You know how I know that? Oh. He brought it to court.
He did.
He showed up in court to take responsibility for a stray animal while he was holding her right there in his arm.
Oh my goodness!
So
sweet baby.
Yeah, it was. There's the culprit.
Right. Exactly. Also pulls at your heartstrings a little bit.
Totally.
He did it on purpose. That's why she took a picture of her 4-pound cat into court and emphasized how friendly the thing was. Can we also just remember that this started because a woman called the police to say that there was a cat sunbathing without a leash in her front yard? Can we just acknowledge
Apparently they have a cat leash law there.
I know, but listen.
Have you ever seen the video of Anne-Marie with her cat on a leash?
Yes.
Where she's dragging it across the wood floor?
Come
here, Merida.
They just don't do well on leashes.
No, cats don't walk on leashes.
We have lantern laws here in our town, but you don't see anybody calling when someone leaves their lantern on past midnight, Megan.
But we should. I'm sure the PD would love it.
Yeah,
because they have nothing else to do. No. So thank you for that,
yes,
Beth. I appreciate it.
And thank you to Heather for sending that in. And seriously, guys, crimecurious@yahoo.com. Put in the subject line, brain bath. We will read it. Let us know if we can use your name, though, because immediately the first thing in the email. Because,
you can use my name.
Yes. Sometimes, if you hide it in the email, we might accidentally say your name. It hasn't happened once. We've just had to re-record some on accident.
Correct.
So, all right. Thank you all so much for listening. If you're a Patreon, jump on over to part 2. You get it immediately. If you're not, sorry, you're going to have to wait till next week, but we'll be back. So
until next time,
keep it curious.
Keep listening.
Bye-bye.